Hello, Wake Up New Zealand, Carol Seeker speaking. I want to go into a short brief about the RSE education program in the school curriculum in New Zealand. RSE, Relationship Sexual Education. So how it became orchestrated and came into the schools in New Zealand. So you can get an idea as to how that actually happened. So this is a two-part video. So I'm going to give you the first part now, and then I will produce the next part tomorrow. So part one, the Relationship and Sexuality program in the New Zealand school curriculum. So this March 2019, the UN Technical Brief on the Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization educational sector was part of the outcome of the Sexuality and Relationship program in the school curriculum in New Zealand and worldwide. So that's internationally and nationally. So prior to that, there were surveys and studies that were being taken place. Now, under the guise of planning the implementation of a school bullying program to be implemented worldwide, numerous studies and surveys were done that were introduced by the UN, took place internationally, nationally, where students of different ages were actually asked many questions. So from these studies, surveys, New Zealand education curriculum, RSE, involved. These included school students by asking a number of questions which were very personal, very sensitive around the nature of sexuality, and desires, actions, gender preference, sex, sexual partners, girl, boy, boy. What were their sexual preferences, and digging deeper into that. So, and sexual desires. And a number of questions around dress, colour of skin, focusing on discrimination, but in that discrimination embedding sexuality questions. So the UN orchestrated and introduced and planned the design of these surveys and studies that took place over a number of years. So this sexuality relationship program in the school curriculum had already taken place in 2015. These were aligned with the introduction of UN Agenda 2030, the Global Development Goals, the 17 Global Development Goals and the 169 targets included in them. So marrying up, aligning at the very least, two of those SDGs, Global Development Goals, with transgender, non-binary, and it goes on. And they all revolve around these questions and surveys that have taken place, which they indoctrinated into SDGs so they could be manipulated to fit UN Agenda 2030. So, for instance, they included SDG 5 to achieve gender equality and SDG 3, leave no one behind. Well, you can see how that leave no one behind and the gender equality could be manipulated. So leaving no one behind, hence being adapted, manipulated to include lesbian, gay, non-binary, bisexual, trans, and gender diverse, LGBTQ1 plus, as many as plus as you like, persons, groups, community. So UN Agenda 2030 SDGs have multiple connection points that can be directly or indirectly linked to transgender, fluid, gender diverse, LGBTQ1, as many pluses as you like, as many genders as you like, and this is how it all fits in. So running in line with UN Agenda 2030. So what you've got to remember is that Jacinda Ardern was the first one to actually enter UN Agenda 2030 into New Zealand policies. It was a non-binding agreement, UN agreement. And there it sat in what we call soft law, ready to be made into hard law legislation. And everyone has consensus on that there is no consensus, everyone agrees to it, so there's no voting whether it happens or not. It's just accepted in Parliament, and when they decide to enter into domestic policies, it then becomes legislation, legally binding, but not necessarily lawful, because we can see how much unlawful stuff is going on in our society. So this leaving no one behind, you can see how that has happened. So the whole sexuality and relationship left woke cultural Marxism, socialism on steroids, and I say that once again, sexualizing, grooming, indoctrinating, sexually abusing our children, orchestrated by these massive surveys that took place and studies that took place internationally, nationally, worldwide. Now, Auckland University was one of those places that actually went about getting these survey questions answered by students, getting the questions and the responses and putting them together and getting them back to the UN, just one of many of them. The CDC were involved and other UN agencies. So therefore, the studies were already going on before 2015, but they gave the final report in March. It was called a technical brief on what had happened, because it was already being orchestrated and implemented in schools across the world. So here you have how all this came about. The relationship, sexuality program in schools in New Zealand, the school curriculum. And because Ardern entered it into domestic policy, she made it legislative and she made it binding. And she said that she urged that other UN member state leaders do just the same. But you know, they don't have to enter into domestic laws. They just make a commitment to it. And that's what they've done. And of course, what's happened is all this transgender stuff was going on before. And we had and we have got billions of dollars being made out of the trans industry. LGBT ESG 100s for global corporations. It's all about stockholder profits, shareholder profits, and businesses, follow the money, follow the greed, follow the power. This is about politics and money. This is about control, complete control, and it's about making your childhood years, robbing your child of their childhood years, their innocence, causing them to be unstable, which could bring about and risk them huge harm to their health, their well-being. This is prematurely sexually abusing children, grooming them. Wake Up New Zealand. So part 2 I will put on tomorrow, and please follow that. Thank you.